My name is Steve Vandenberg. I am the team lead for security for BC Hydro's Smart Meter Infrastructure Program. This is Bob Hawk, my teammate. We've got a full scope 1.8 million meter deployment in British Columbia, Canada. So first, some example AMI hacks. AMI, Advanced Metering Infrastructure, has gotten to be a very crowded space for security research. These are by no means the only recent hacks out there. They are, four that I have some interest in, so I've wanted to share with you, just from the point of view of showing you that it's a crowded space. It's a space that's getting a lot of interest, both from the good guys, the InfoSec community doing some good research, and the bad guys. So this is what we need to think about when we're looking at developing testing programs. Looking into the eye of the meter, Don Weber did this at DEF CON in 2012. This is a hack that's got to do with interfacing with the optical port. The optical port on a meter is a maintenance port. And if you talk to it right, you can get the meter to do a bunch of unexpected stuff. Puerto Rico Utility found this out, or one like it, when they experienced an optical port hack, which was an inside job to lower electric rates for people that could pay the corrupt insiders. This was investigated and, case closed by the FBI. It was reported by Krebs on Security. Those two have to do with the optical maintenance port as well. We've got an RF hack that was given at the Chaos Communications Congress in 2011. What they did was they looked at the privacy implications of the RF emanations from the meter. The meters got RF emanations in a couple of ways, both the radio frequency and mesh that goes back to the utility, also the home area network. Looking at the radio frequency emanations, they were able to look at not only when people were home, but what kind of appliances were running, perhaps even what people were watching on television. A lot of the angst out there over AMI deployments is going to be over privacy issues. People have got a lot of concerns over, what can I do with the data in a smart meter if a smart meter is co-opted versus, a flywheel meter, which was, an old style flywheel meter, which really had nothing that could be used by a bad guy. This was a really nice presentation. We Are So Screwed. Yeah, I think that really was the title, actually, because I was unable to discern any other. This was given by Larry Pesce at DEF CON 21. And this was a combined physical and cyber assault on a connected grid router. The connected grid router is a device, it's a field area router, sits on a pole, and when those meters are all talking to each other, forming their mesh, the last guy, the 2001st meter, takes that signal, the combination of all of those signals, and hands it off to the connected grid router, which goes ahead and sends it back, to the head end at the utility. And that, along with every other part of the system, is open potentially to exploitation. So with that, let me hand it off to Bob, and I'll be back.
Thank you, Steve. Consider all the threat vectors. We have cyber, physical, social. In yesteryear, we used to call these physical, administrative, and technical. But, sometimes times change. Let's take a look at some of these threats. Physical threats. Well, I can put a rare earth magnet right on the meter. That'll actually kind of mess with its ability to measure the power. I can take the 5-year-old approach and take a hammer to the meter. Okay? I can go into the cyber attacks. RF denial of service. The meters, in a lot of cases, will operate on known frequencies. This is forward-facing on the internet, what their frequency ranges are, and that can be jammed, possibly. The optical port attacks that Steve was talking about, there is an optical port to interface with a meter if the if the actual radio stage dies on it. And believe it or not, anybody can buy the optical plug-up gear. It's available online. Zigbee or DMP3 attacks. These are protocols that have been around for a while, but they're being used in new and interesting ways. And in actuality, some of them are available to big attacks, as was discovered with DMP3 last year. There is a lot of different attack vectors for that protocol. Social attacks. Somebody can call a call center and actually talk the call center representative into giving up information on a service point. A combination attack. Let's go to a big box store, buy ourselves a home area network device, and call the call center and see if we can get some social engineering in place to get that associated with a specific service point, so we can find out what's going on at that service point, what types of smart appliances are there, and what their usage is. But why do we want to do this stuff? Well, the goals are at the bottom there. Possibly turn off the power, mess with the billing, increase it, lower it, depending on what we want to do. Know when people are home and what they're doing. Now for the rest of this, I'm going to turn it back to Steve. Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Sure. So the question was, how serious would it have to be for us to halt deployment? So first, I'm not going to tie this to any particular of my employers. I can say in the abstract that in order to halt deployment, there would have to be no other way to mitigate, change the use case, and so forth. I can tell you, knowing the AMI space and knowing that the equipment was something, or the equipment would be something that was vetted by myself and my team, from day one before the sourcing, that I cannot imagine a situation where we would halt deployment. In other words, decide to put the flywheel meters back. I can think of situations where we would change the configuration, change the use case, and, otherwise make sure that we're not deploying bad stuff. I mean, the consequences of deploying bad stuff are dire. And I don't only mean because somebody's going to get the ability. You talked about the red button. Most modern AMI deployments have remote disconnect and reconnect. Okay, bad guy can turn off the power if we don't do our job right. So the consequences are dire. We also live, somewhat in a fishbowl environment. I mean, we could have multiple regulators. We've got, certainly an InfoSec community that is keeping a real good eye on us. We really don't want to deploy bad stuff, not only for, moral reasons, but if I deploy bad stuff, someone will know, they'll probably know soon, and my chickens will come home to roost.